My mother-in-law threw away my daughter's most prized possession that belonged to her late mother and called it trash, but when my husband found out what she did, he shocked everyone by going no contact and writing her out of his will, and now she's having a meltdown. I, 35F, desperately need advice about a horrific situation that happened with my mother-in-law, 58F, last weekend. I've been a long-time lurker but never thought I'd have to post here myself. My hands are still shaking as I write this, and I honestly can't believe how quickly things have escalated. I've read many stories here about terrible in-laws, but I never thought I'd be sharing one of my own. Some background: I married my husband James, 37M, 3 years ago after dating for 2 years. He's an absolutely amazing man who came into our lives when we needed him most, and he has been a wonderful stepfather to my daughter Emma, 12F. From day one, he's shown nothing but patience, understanding, and genuine love for both of us. Emma's biological mother, Sarah, was my best friend since college and passed away from an aggressive form of cancer when Emma was only 6. The doctors only gave her 3 months after diagnosis, but she fought hard for 8 months, trying to spend as much time with Emma as possible. During her final days in hospice, Sarah gave Emma her most treasured possession, a sterling silver charm bracelet that she'd had since she was a young girl herself. Each charm had a special meaning: a ballet shoe from her first recital, a heart from her 16th birthday, a book representing her love of reading, and several others that told the story of her life. Sarah spent her last days telling Emma the story behind each charm, and Emma would sit for hours by her bed, listening intently and memorizing every detail. This bracelet became Emma's most precious possession. She wore it every day and would often hold the charms when she was feeling sad or missed her mom. It was her way of keeping Sarah close, especially during major life moments when she missed her mom the most. My mother-in-law Clara has always been difficult, and that's putting it mildly. From the moment James introduced us, she made it clear that she never approved of him marrying a widow with a child, though she tried to hide her disdain behind fake smiles and backhanded compliments. She would constantly make snide comments at family gatherings about how James deserved to have his own children and how he was settling for a ready-made family. She'd even go as far as to show James photos of her friends' single daughters, right in front of me. What made it worse was her treatment of Emma. She would often make insensitive comments about how Emma needed to move on from her mother's death, and how unhealthy it was for a child to spend so much time grieving. She deliberately excluded Emma from family photos, saying she wanted some with just real family members. When Emma would mention Sarah or show anyone her bracelet, Clara would quickly change the subject or make excuses to end the conversation. We tried to maintain a cordial relationship for James' sake, but it was always tense, like walking on eggshells. James would often have to step in and defend us, which only made Clara play the victim about how we were turning her son against her. Last weekend, we had to attend James' cousin's wedding. It was strictly an adults-only event at an upscale venue, and Clara immediately offered to watch Emma. She made a big show at the last family dinner about how she had planned a special grandmother-granddaughter bonding day with cookie baking, crafts, and movies. Emma was actually excited about it, which made my heart ache because despite Clara's previous behavior, Emma still desperately wanted her approval and love. She spent days talking about what kinds of cookies they would make and even wrote down her mom's old snickerdoodle recipe that she wanted to share. I was extremely hesitant about leaving Emma with Clara. Something in my gut was screaming that it was a bad idea, but I couldn't pinpoint why. James assured me everything would be fine. After all, what could go wrong in just 6 hours? Plus, refusing Clara's offer would have caused a massive drama that would have overshadowed the wedding. Clara had a habit of turning any slight against her into a family-wide crisis, and I didn't want to ruin James' cousin's special day. So against my better judgment, we agreed. When we returned that evening around 9 p.m., we immediately knew something was terribly wrong. The house was dark except for Emma's bedroom light, and we could hear heart-wrenching sobs from outside. We rushed in to find Emma curled up in a ball on her bed, crying so hard she could barely breathe. Clara was nowhere to be seen. It took us nearly 20 minutes to calm Emma down enough to tell us what happened. Between gasping sobs, she revealed the horrifying truth: Clara had spent most of the day criticizing everything in Emma's room, particularly anything connected to Sarah. She kept saying Emma's room needed to be updated and cleaned out because it was too babyish. Then, while Emma was in the bathroom, Clara had gone through her jewelry box, found Sarah's bracelet, and threw it away. When Emma discovered what happened and started crying, Clara had called it old junk and said Emma needed to get over it and stop being dramatic. She told Emma that real grandmothers give better jewelry and that she would buy her a new, prettier bracelet to replace the shabby old thing. When Emma tried to retrieve the bracelet from the kitchen trash, she discovered Clara had already taken all the garbage out to the curb. Emma ran outside just in time to see the garbage truck driving away with that week's pickup. The worst part was that Clara had left shortly after, saying Emma was being ridiculous and needed to learn a lesson about holding on to the past. She didn't even stay to make sure Emma was okay. My poor daughter had been alone, crying her heart out for over an hour before we got home. I was absolutely livid, shaking with a rage I'd never experienced before, but what happened next shocked everyone in the family. James, who had always been relatively passive with his mother to keep the peace, underwent a transformation I'd never seen. His face went completely white, then red with fury. Without saying a word to me, he pulled out his phone and called Clara. His voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that signals an approaching storm. "Get back to our house. Now. You have exactly 20 minutes before I come to your house and make this much worse." He hung up before she could respond. Those 20 minutes were tense. James paced the living room like a caged lion while I sat with Emma, trying to comfort her. She had finally stopped crying but was now in that awful, hollow state of shock that comes after intense grief. She just kept touching her empty wrist and whispering, "I want my mom." Clara arrived 18 minutes later, breezing in through the front door as if she was arriving for a casual visit. She was wearing a smug little smile and carrying a shopping bag. "Oh good, you're home," she chirped, acting completely innocent about the whole thing. "I bought Emma a lovely new bracelet from the mall. Much more appropriate for a girl her age than that old." James cut her off mid-sentence with a thunderous "shut up." That made everyone jump. I had never, in 3 years of marriage, heard him raise his voice like that.